that's the case, we may live through the week. But if Ukraine does in fact attack Russia, as I've been told, the decisions have already been made. There will be no discussion. Very catastrophic results for Ukraine and NATO will be the product of it. And that means war. And that means World War III. That means nuclear weapons. That means we won't celebrate Christmas. I just want everybody to understand what I just said. You won't celebrate Christmas. You won't celebrate Hanukkah. You won't celebrate Eid. You won't celebrate Kwanzaa. You won't celebrate anything. Life will be over forever. That's where we're at.
It's your boy Crypto Blood. This guy to my right just dropped some truth bombs. No pun intended. Look, it's looking like, and I don't know if the media is really covering this aspect of it. First of all, the left is probably not even covering this at all. We know how they like to favor the Democratic Party. And this is like, come on, it's getting old. You guys lost by a landslide. Your views are going to hell. You're scrambling. And the reason is you're scrambling because the everyday person is starting to wake up. They're finally realizing the things that you told them was not reality. Biden was cognitively okay. Kamala is the best thing since sliced bread. The polls are showing a neck-to-neck race in the elections. 3 strikes, you're out of here, baby. You're out of here, baby. You know what I'm saying? So they're done. Media done. But it's looking like New York Times is actually the culprit behind this, potentially working with the deep state. Deep state, we already know, deep state uses these media outlets as their tentacles, right? To persuade the public, to shape opinion. But again, it's not working anymore. So they are losing power. However, this last-ditched effort might just blow up everything for everyone. It's almost like a kamikaze move by the deep state. I'm going to kick off today's video with a tweet from Don Jr. He said this perfectly. The military-industrial complex seems to want to make sure they get World War III going before my father has a chance to create peace and save lives. Got to lock in those trillions, he says. Life be damned, imbeciles. And he's not lying. This is pure evil. I told someone this earlier today. Pure evil, what they've just done. Whether it was Biden or the New York Times through the deep state initiating this, whoever it is, they're pure evil. I don't think it's personally Biden. I don't think Biden has anything. He doesn't even know what the hell is going on. But a former UN inspector, Scott Rittner, gave us his intel on what he thinks is going on. And there may be some infighting between the Department of Defense and the executive branch. I don't know. We know Anthony Blinken said they're going to give money every day until the day they are out of office to Ukraine, which is insane. We got people over here starving, can't even find their next meal. Vets, no help, horrible health care, access to good shelter, and we're giving billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine every day. Let's get our house in order before we go helping other people, is what I say. And I think that's what the American people have said as well. Don Jr. responded to this tweet. President Biden has authorized the first use of U.S.-supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside Russia, per New York Times. Now, we have not heard anything directly from the Biden administration, which again, maybe adds some credibility to the statement that Scott Rittner is making in regards to New York Times possibly putting this out themselves or working with a deep state entity that published this on their behalf. Either way, pure evil. Let me know what you think about this situation in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to this video before we get into the nitty gritty. I just got to tell you, this is something that I think a lot of people are discounting. One false move and things could change forever. We're going to watch a clip here in a second where Scott Rittner talks about weapons that he's heard from intel within Russia's military, saying that they will use weapons the world has never seen before. Thomas Massey chimed in on this as well. He said, by authorizing long-range missiles to strike inside Russia, Biden has committed an unconstitutional act of war that endangers the lives of all U.S. citizens and other countries, by the way. This is an impeachable offense, but the reality is he's an emasculated puppet of the deep state. And you guys let me know in the comments below who is pulling the strings on this and who is really responsible for this pure evil play that they've just pulled just a month or two from the transition to a new president who is all about no war. And before I play this Scott Rittner clip, I want to show you one from the Vigilant News Network. As they said, Democratic congressman openly reveals plot to form a shadow government to undermine Trump White House.
Well, this story is seriously shocking, folks. Dem congressman openly reveals plot to form shadow government to undermine the Trump White House, essentially the deep state. What I'd really love to do is play you the video. Kyle Becker says House Democrats are denying the results of the 2024 election. They are trying to form a shadow government to defy and undermine President Trump's authority. The Democratic Party is trying to lead an unconstitutional insurrection against Trump. Let's take a listen to this full clip.
If Trump attempts to weaponize the justice system against his political opponents with Matt Gaetz at the helm, we could see incoming Senator Adam Schiff as our shadow attorney general, arguing against replacing our independent prosecutors with Trump loyalists. If Trump seeks to eliminate the Department of Education, Congresswoman Johanna Hayes, a former Teacher of the Year, could step up as shadow education secretary to loudly defend public education in the United States. If Trump orders Marco Rubio to hand Ukraine and much of Eastern Europe to Russian President Vladimir Putin, Congressman Greg Meeks, as Shadow Secretary of State, could be a strong voice in support of maintaining international relationships and protecting.
Now, this sounds like an insurrection. He's openly talking about installing shadow members. You've never heard the Republicans do something so idiotic. Ever.
Democracy at home and abroad. Senator Michael Bennet as Shadow Treasury Secretary, and Congresswoman Susan DelBene as Shadow Commerce Secretary could help ensure the middle class and small businesses have a voice in government and call out Trump's proposed tax cuts for billionaires and corporations. As Shadow Defense Secretary...
What happened to mentioning no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime? Is that for the billionaires? I don't think so.
Congressman Adam Smith, a great representative for the people of Washington and not a Fox News host, could counter Trump's threat to use military force against his political opponents and work to ensure that the Department of Defense stays loyal to the Constitution and not some wannabe dictator.
So you see what they're doing. You see how they're playing already. So would it be a stretch to think that deep state just literally tried to trigger World War III through the New York Times, and the New York Times being complicit with this? Of course, we're not shocked at that, but this is very concerning to me, and I'm wondering, how you guys feel about this situation and if it will escalate any further than it has to date. Let's take a listen to this final clip from Scott Rittner, who details the whole thing.
I was told too is that Russia, and this is playing off of a statement made by a senior Russian politician in the Russian Senate. He said that Russia will use weapons that have never been seen before, and these weapons will have a catastrophic effect on Kiev, on Ukraine. Basically, it will depopulate Kiev and make Ukraine non-functional as a modern nation state. Now, there's some speculation as to what these weapons are. They're not nuclear. The belief is that they are some sort of massive fuel air explosive / EMP weapon, electromagnetic pulse weapon, that will flatten Kiev and take out all electronics. And this is being made by a man who isn't outside of the government, but in the government, and he's saying it as a statement of fact. So that's what we have to look forward to. If Ukraine does this, there's a good chance Kiev will cease to exist. Great Britain has given them the Storm Shadow. That's what it is, Storm Shadow. And France has given them the Scalp missile. So these weapons are in the possession of Ukraine. And indeed, Ukraine has used these weapons against Russian forces in the territories of dispute. And this is why Russia hasn't treated those attacks as an attack against Russia proper, because those territories, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Lugansk, and even Crimea, are considered territories in dispute by Ukraine. Kursk is not a territory in dispute. Kursk is a land which is part of the Russian Federation. And this is the other thing people need to understand. The United States and NATO helped train, equip, and direct the Ukrainian forces that invaded Kursk earlier this year. This was a NATO invasion of Ukraine. And now what appears to be the case is that the United States and NATO want Ukraine to remain in Kursk up until Donald Trump's swearing in on January 20th, so as to complicate any peace agreement, to make it more difficult for Trump to disengage. And so the caveat for these ATACMS weapons is that the United States has cleared their use in Kursk to strike Russian forces in Kursk, as if this is some sort of limiting factor that Russia won't respond. Russia has said that this will be an attack against Russia because it is an attack against Russia. Now, the source I spoke to today made it clear that there's no panic in Russia at all, that the Russians are very steely-eyed, clear-eyed. They know what needs to be done. They're ready to do what needs to be done, but they're not going to jump the gun until either Ukraine actually attacks them or they get an official statement from the White House that says this is what we're doing.
Oh my God. So there you have it. They're waiting for an official message from the White House. Is there some infighting going on within our government? The deep state and in the Biden administration, maybe they're not seeing eye to eye, and the deep state is really trying to egg on this situation so that it puts Donald Trump in a very bad situation going into his new presidency. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Kursk is ground zero for this situation. Just remember that. Either a long-range missile strikes Kursk, or the U.S. president, Joe Biden currently, comes out with an official message saying exactly what the New York Times said that they said. I know, it makes no sense, but that's the reality we have right now. New York Times probably causing World War III. It's your boy Crypto Blood. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and click that bell to receive more videos like this. I'm out of here, people.
Yo, it's Crypto Blood, Detroit flow, streaming from the D, knowing what the show indicators are on point. OG since 12, invested in trade, living